Hello everybody, and welcome back to today's video. Today, we are going to be reviewing and analyzing the gubernatorial election in the state of New Jersey. Now, I encourage you to watch the video analyzing the Virginia election results. That video is a little bit longer since they had 3 elections there to analyze. In New Jersey, it's only one. Nonetheless, very important. This is one of the 2 gubernatorial elections as of now in 2025. So without further ado, let's get into the meat of it. Now, as we can tell, we have found out that New Jersey will keep the governor's mansion blue and Democratic. Mikie Sherrill won and beat Jack Ciattarelli by quite a bit of margin, well over 10 points, nearly a 15-point victory. It was very decisive for Mikie Sherrill. Now, I have some reasons as to why this was. First of all, right off the bat, I think I was sort of naive to think that Jack Ciattarelli was going to win. This is the only election that like I said, that I wasn't confident in my prediction because it was really hard to say because there was a chance that Jack Ciattarelli could win because the election from 2021 showed that it was a lot closer, and polling showed that it was going to be a lot closer. And then you also had Mikie Sherrill running in a blue state, getting a lot of the anti-Trump people to turn out and vote for her. You thought, yeah, she could win, but it was always about what the margin is if she was going to win. And it was really hard to say. Most people didn't really think, including myself, that she was going to win over 10 points. Nonetheless, nearly 15, which is interesting because a lot of the trends that Republicans have made in New Jersey in the last few years, like 2021, 2024, a lot of Hispanic trends and minority voters have trended towards Republicans. A lot of that has not just thwarted, but has reversed and turned back to the Democrats with minimal trends to the Republicans. Now, it's really hard to say how New Jersey is going to continue to trend because usually, and this is interesting, but a lot of the times there will be a state that will trend in a certain direction for a few elections, and people will think, it's getting a lot more purple. Maybe it's competitive. Maybe the other party can win. Take Texas for an example. You had in 2018, you had some closer elections. The Republicans still won, but it was only by a few points in deep red Texas. People thought, maybe it's going to trend back to the Democrats. I mean, I even thought so myself. Maybe it can become competitive. It's becoming purple. You saw Beto O'Rourke only lose to Ted Cruz by a few points. You saw Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, only win by a few points. And then, as you can tell, in 2024 in Texas, the Republicans managed to reverse some of that trend and then some. They won. Trump and Cruz won big in 2024 and pretty much is back to being a safe Republican state. Much like how it seems to be in New Jersey. You had Jack Ciattarelli do really, really well in the governor's election in 2021. He almost beat Phil Murphy, as I showed you earlier. He was a pretty good performance. And you saw the presidential election in New Jersey go more conservative. Kamala Harris only lost it by 6 Kamala Harris won New Jersey by 6 compared to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, compared to Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton winning New Jersey by much more. So you saw New Jersey narrow up. People thought maybe New Jersey's going to get a little more purple. Maybe it's in play for Republicans. And that's what happened, is that it was, and then it reverted back to the Democrats. So it's an interesting pattern I've noticed, is that a lot of states, they're very much heavily leaning to one side. Texas, as the example I used earlier, heavily leans to the right. New Jersey heavily leans to the left. They go through a period of it becoming more competitive and purple, but then after a while, after some time, it'll revert back to its normal voting habits. And this is what you see here. With that being said, that's basically what happened with New Jersey. However, it is still a surprise nonetheless by the margin that Mikie Sherrill won, beating Jack Ciattarelli. As you can tell, she even won New Jersey's 7th congressional district, which is actually the only competitive one, really, in New Jersey. Maybe the 9th can get competitive in the 5th, but 7th is really the competitive one with Republican Tom Kean. He's running for re-election next year. That'll be an interesting election to watch. But Mikie Sherrill won his district. It's been trending Republican, especially the more urban part of the district. But the rural part, Sherrill didn't do too well, especially Morris County. Usually Republicans, it's a purple area historically, but Republicans usually win that at the gubernatorial level, right? You saw Mikie Sherrill be able to win Morris County, which is quite impressive, considering that Jack Ciattarelli won Morris County by around 10 or 11 points. If I can show you the county map, yeah, you see Mikie Sherrill won it by around 2 points, which is very impressive performance for the Democrat. As you could tell, made the second congressional district more competitive. So all in all, it was a close. It wasn't close at all, actually. That's basically what happened. You saw a lot of reversion of the trends made with Hispanic voters that kind of went back to the Democrats. Some of them still voted Republican, but not. However, what is interesting is that Jack Ciattarelli got 1,417,488 votes. Remember that. That's more than how much Phil Murphy got when back in 2021. So he got more votes than Phil Murphy, which is very interesting. Than when he lost. So what I think is that Jack Ciattarelli got his base to turn out because he aligned himself more with the Trump MAGA type of the base more than the establishment part. However, he was able to get establishment Republicans to vote for him. As you could tell, Republicans have been picking up in voter registration. However, as you could tell with this election, it doesn't always point out to everything. But you can kind of tell how Mikie Sherrill just got even more votes, which I think is because she got all of her base to turn out. Democrats still have a huge edge over Republicans in New Jersey, and she used that to her advantage, and you could tell that worked. So what's another surprising thing is, again, she did well in North Jersey. She was able to win Passaic County by quite a lot, 57-42. That was a lot. Donald Trump won this county by 3 points. She maxed out her margin in Bergen. Passaic voted to the left of Bergen County, which is kind of crazy. But she still won that by by 10. You saw Hunterdon, a pretty rural, conservative county, northwestern New Jersey. This is in Tom Keene's district. You saw Sherrill only lost that by 5. Strong performance. And see these right trending working class areas of South Jersey. You saw Jack Ciattarelli lose these. I thought that he would do really well in these areas. Atlantic County voted for Sherrill by 3. Cumberland voted by 4. Gloucester voted by 4. So all in all, not a great performance really for Ciattarelli. That it's basically how it would happen. I think she just did well all around. However, Jack Ciattarelli still got hit again. He had his base to turn out. They still won. He still won pretty well in Ocean County, but it just wasn't enough to turn out the trend. Big part of this is because the party out of power this time, the Democrats seem to do really well. In general, the Republicans did pretty well in 2021 when Joe Biden was in the White House. So you saw Glenn Youngkin win in Virginia. Then you saw Phil Murphy not do too well in his reelection. So basically, that's how it is. It's interesting because it's always the party out of power just always seems to have a way to come back and win, no matter what the circumstances are. So we have, again, these competitive areas. You saw Mikie Sherrill do really well. She won Atlantic, Cumberland, Gloucester. She held out her own in Bergen and really did well in Passaic. Again, a lot of these Hispanic voters just moved back to the left. Maybe some of them stayed to the right, but not a lot. And she flipped Morris. I would say that was the big upset. I think Jack Ciattarelli was definitely favored to win that year, but he didn't. But yeah, those are definitely my thoughts on the New Jersey governor's election. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe, and have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.